I want to talk to you today about cancel culture. What is cancel culture? 3 days ago, I was interviewed by the French journalist Willy Rovelli for France Bleu, which is part of the French France Inter group, about cancel culture and how it is coming to France. Well, cancel culture is a sort of follow-up to the 90s cultural wars, which happened in the United States of America, and which were a way to basically cancel something like a creative endeavor which was ruled by certain communities, certain parts of the population as being unacceptable because they were shocking or because they were racist or pro-gay or pro-minorities. So, for example, in the 90s, the far right and the right movements basically organized some protest against the retrospective of the American gay photographer Robert Mapplethorpe, sorry, and they actually closed down his exhibition in Chicago. So that's an example of how to cancel an event which certain fringes of the population deemed to be shocking, and this is part also of the 90s cultural wars. And then everybody went online on the internet, and this sort of movement of the minorities came online on internet through cancel culture, which is basically the right that the people takes to remove from the celebrity circle someone that this community deems to have acted in a way which is shocking, unacceptable, politically incorrect, or morally reprehensible or criminally reprehensible. And so I'd say that cancel culture really became quite important in the US around five years ago, and it was also in conjunction with the Me Too movement, where basically a lot of minorities or women, which are not minorities obviously because they represent 50% of the population, decided to go against certain individuals in our society who they deem to be predators or harassing individuals or using their power in a way they shouldn't do. So I'm referring here, for example, to the Harvey Weinstein stories, to the Jeffrey Epstein stories, etc., and the many predators who have since, have been taken, been cancelled and or will be. And so the cancel culture really became quite prominent, as I was saying, around 4 or 5 years ago in the United States. One of the really important example was the story of Roseanne Barr, who got cancelled because she wrote a devastatingly horrendous tweet about a woman who was part of the Obama administration, basically comparing her in that tweet, that particular woman in that tweet, to an ape. So particularly racist and disgusting. Although the reaction from the community online was actually to cancel this woman, Roseanne Barr, who made that horrendous racist tweet, and through that she also lost her job as an anchor woman on the show that she had on an American TV network. So that was when cancel culture really started to become very, very basically consequential, like having a lot of consequences. More recently, we've seen with the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry disclosures about certain members of the UK press being very racist against them or making some comments which were unacceptable. And so the following day, Piers Morgan, who was one of his people who were who had been deprecating Meghan Markle, her baby, and her husband, was fired from his job. Another example of cancel culture. In France, I would say that one of the very prominent examples of cancel culture was Moa Lasquale, the French rapper, who got completely cancelled because some women came out by explaining that he was actually a very, very violent and basically sexually assaulting them and being extremely violent, etc. So for Warner, his record company decided to not release his second album, which to a degree is a shame, because he's a very good rapper, but I can completely understand that certain behaviors should not be tolerated. And while he's waiting for his criminal trial, I understand that Warner, his record company, will not release his second album. So that's an example. So what I'm trying to say here is that cancel culture, now 5 years down the line, since it's been created, is definitely coming to our European shores in the UK and also France. I would say that cancel culture, la culture de l'annulation in French, has started to become more prominent around September 2020, and I'm sure it's going to become even more prominent because, of course, we are all online on social media, even more now than ever, because we all work from home. We don't commute anymore since we are in this pandemic lockdown, some of us, and teleworking is definitely advised by all of the governments. So what happens online is becoming even more prevalent. So how do you reconcile this increase of cancel culture with freedom of speech? And well, it's not easy, because in Europe in particular, freedom of speech, so the ability to say what you want and what you think, is already very much controlled by laws, by statutory provisions, which are basically enshrined in France in the French Civil Code and other laws. On the basically liberté de la presse, etc., etc., and it's already very tightly regulated, in particular in France, the freedom of speech, and so we are very much shackled due to the fact that if you say something which is deemed derogatory by certain minorities, you could actually end up being sued for defamation, so defamation, libel, the whole lot. And honestly, the French do that a lot, even against journalists, by the way. So yes, there's already a very strong body of law of laws and also case law, which basically puts a very tight grip on freedom of speech. So that, in addition to the cancel culture, which basically means that a community, an online community, could on a whim basically cancel a celebrity or an individual because of his or her behavior, while there aren't any criminal sanctions against that individual, but just because what he or she has done is deemed to be politically incorrect or annoying or shocking. That means that, at the moment, we don't have much civil liberty going on, in particular in France, about the freedom of expression and freedom of speech. It really is a problem. I hope that 2021 will allow us to, get back to a more balanced view here in relation to that, because freedom of speech is essential in democracy. In the UK, it's not so much that the freedom of speech is tightly limited and shackled by written laws. Usually it's a body of case law, because it's common law that applies in the UK. Although there are a few laws against, for example, the interdiction, like forbidding people from online bullying, etc. So there are some statutory laws about that, but usually it's a case law in the UK, which is more common, because it is, as I said, a common law country like the US. So my view further to reviewing the UK case law about freedom of expression and freedom of speech and how it is limited is that it's very, very much limited by the UK government and judiciary. institutions that they basically, take some fairly severe decisions against individuals who've made certain comments, etc., etc. Although there always seems to be an exception with the tabloids, seem to be able to say whatever the heck they want, and that's tough. For example, cancel culture has led, and also the fact that the tabloids are making some terrible comments about UK celebrities has actually led to several suicides. One of the most recent being the one of Caroline Flack, who was basically very much bullied by the UK tabloids because she lost, I don't know, it was not very clear, but basically she lost her position in a show, in a TV show in the UK. So she became the joke of many tabloids. And so she committed suicide. There must have been some other reasons as well, but she was also cancelled online. So that was also one of the first examples when you could see the, basically negative impact of cancel culture in the UK. So hang in there, guys. It's not easy at the moment, both online and offline. We are very much shackled in relation to what we can say or we can write, etc. But so as a creative, who are of course my audience here, you have to be careful. You really do have to also seek a review from a third party, like a second person who reviews what you've written or what you want to say or what you want to sing in your lyrics, etc., before you put it out there in the public domain. Because, for example, in the book business, they have now people whose job is to review the books and ensure that that the book is written in such a way that it's not going to be cancelled, right? His or her author and the content of a book will not be cancelled. So the job of these people is actually to check and to review and to provide comments and say, okay, so this is a bit too sensitive, or here, for example, okay, so you are a white heterosexual male, and it's perhaps not such a good idea for you to write about an Afro-American gay woman because you're not part of this community. So it means that there's a lot of censorship going on in the creative industries, in particular the book publishing industry, and also probably also the music industry, in order to limit, this risk of being cancelled by pop culture and the online communities. So hang in there, and be cautious when you release some creative content in the public domain. Bye for now.